Lou Palumbo joins me now for more on New Year's Eve security. He is the director of Elite Intelligence and Protection, a leading international private security firm. Lou, thank you so much for being here with me. Now, what was your reaction when you heard the Department of Homeland Security had heightened the Las Vegas threat level to high? That's not something we hear very often.
Yeah, I think that's just a little bit of a reaction to the incident that they had at the Mandalay Bay, number one. And number two, there might be some intelligence floating around which lends itself to them facilitating the elevation of that threat level.
So you have decades of experience handling these kinds of security events. Question though, I mean, has this really evolved? Is the threat new? Is it different? Have they always been looking for this kind of security threat, like what they're looking for in Las Vegas? Or has there really been an evolution?
No, there's been an evolution in the type of threat, especially since post 9/11. You know, that just kind of was a turning point for us. And if you just study historically, since 9/11, throughout Europe, for example, and at times in the United States, the agenda has changed, and the security requirement has changed with it.
How has it changed? Talk about the evolution. How is what we're looking for on New Year's Eve now different than it would have been maybe 10 or 15 years ago?
Well, 10 or 15 years ago, still within that window of 9/11, but prior, say, to 9/11, they were concerned about drunks. They were always concerned about crowd management. They're always concerned about, little incidents of some type. But today, in light of the times that we're living in, they're really concerned about someone possibly accessing a very densely populated pedestrian environment with a vehicle or with a device that's strapped on them or even a weapon. So their concerns have heightened and they've shifted with the times, and it's supported by the actual events that we're experiencing almost on a day-to-day basis throughout the country and throughout the world.
Well, even in a very well-resourced city like New York City, the mayor says it's still up to everyone to keep us safe. So if you're out on New Year's Eve, what kinds of things should people be looking for? We've all heard if you see something, say something, but what is it that if you see, you should say?
Well, if you see someone that doesn't really fit in with the blend of the crowd, there's kind of like a rhythm in the crowd where they're enjoying it, or if you see a package, for example, something left abandoned, those are the types of things that need to be brought to the attention of law enforcement immediately so they can vet them. As you're probably aware, the bomb squad is out in force that evening. We have numerous technologies in place to pick up chemical and radiological readings. There's a lot of mechanisms that they use, but for the public, it's hard to explain to them a change in their life, which is what we call situational awareness. We get it in law enforcement, you get it in the military. The public has always been insulated by law enforcement. We go out and we do our job and we deal with the underbelly of this culture, and we let you go along and kind of enjoy your life without tainting you, so to speak. Today, it's in your world, and you have to be aware of what's going on around you. And I would make a recommendation, for example, get rid of the earbuds, because there's no doubt in my mind that incident that happened on the bike path next to the West Side Highway, there were people screaming, and I'm going to guarantee you there were people with earbuds in. It's just a real interesting shift in the culture, and it lends itself to your ability to survive. Going into environments like even New Year's Eve, people will be penned in. It's about how you get in, but also about how you get out. Where what they call ingress and egress is positioned, where your emergency services are positioned. Know where your police are in case you need to get to them. You have to start to think a little bit. But having done about 25 New Year's Eves, I can tell you that the people in Times Square are preoccupied with the celebration of the New Year. They're really not thinking like I'm thinking. I'll be in Times Square again this year, 25th year or 26th year, and our brains are working differently. We're looking for things that might be a liability to them and to us while they're out there just trying to absorb the night. So it's a little bit of a different agenda, but it's hard to teach them to be totally aware of what's going on around them.
Well, we're so grateful that we have people like you whose brains are, as you said, thinking differently. Thank you so much, Lou Palumbo.
It was my pleasure.